video.
So you only have to do this once. We do
have
it
to
40
do it.
times. So which would you rather do? Would you rather have it 40 times having to do this or just once?
40, because
Being on our
it would be
side of
it'd be to your back, and you're just asking the questions, not getting the questions asked.
But afterwards, we go to the front and
Oh.
And then we have to do all the...
Okay, I'd rather just do it once.
Okay, let me
Okay.
get your papers up here.
Okay, if I jot notes, and so please don't be offended.
Okay.
if I'm jotting notes
No, I
or
won't.
be worried about it, it's just for my own, I don't know, my
Okay.
own little quirk. So you're applying for the elementary position that we've advertised?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, Cartney?
Okay, well, I got my master's degree at the University of Minnesota in the Twin Cities, and I previously had gotten my bachelor's degree from South Dakota State to be an elementary school teacher. I got it in early childhood education.
Early childhood, have you had a lot of experience with kids then?
Yep, in high
that-
school I did a lot of babysitting, and I worked at the movie theater dealing with all ages of people, but it was fun to like deal with the kids, help them pick out their candy, and like just little things like that. I worked with a lot of families, which helps when you're going to be a teacher because you have to deal with their parents, not only the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So what do you consider your main strengths to be?
Well, for my jobs that I've had in high school and when I was in college, I was always on time. My employers always said that I worked really hard. They didn't have to ask me multiple times to get my stuff done. I always had it done before they could get there. I worked well with my other coworkers, never got in arguments.
Good. Good, good. And what, is there somebody, you know, you're going to become a teacher, you're going to go out in the trenches. Little kids, they're so much fun and stuff like that. But is there somebody in your life that inspired you to want to become a teacher and work with that age? Or what, anything in your life that, or any person in your life, not even towards teaching, but anything that would a person that was real special to you that helped mold you into who you are now?
If I had to pick a teacher that I looked up to, it'd be Mr. Poppinga, because he was always really good at explaining things, and he always like would make sure to take the time to answer your questions and like stay after with you if you ever had help, and I know that I'd be good at doing the same thing, so he's like a good example. But if it was just real life, I look up to my mom because she's really caring and like understands kids. She's empathetic towards them.
Have you ever run into a difficult circumstance with a child that you had to deal with?
When I was a student teacher, when I was getting my master's degree at the U of M, I had a misbehaved child who would always like act out in class, so I had to deal with him a lot. Since I was the student teacher, the main teacher didn't really want to have to deal with him, so she gave me like the dirty work. I was always the one who had to deal with him.
That's why we get those subs.
Yep.
Okay. And how did you handle him? Did he respond to you?
He did if I took him aside, if it wasn't in like the middle of class, if I took him out in the hall and just kind of told him like, you don't like it when other kids act out because you can't focus, so think of how you're disrupting them, and I just kind of put it into like real life for him, and he understood what I was talking about.
And that's typically the strategy you'll use is
Yep.
one-on-one type of
Yep, and
strategy.
relate so that they can like relate and understand it in different terms.
Okay.
You know, I see that, you know, you have a lot of strengths and you're very confident in what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any weaknesses that you have that you just like to,
I would say like being too nice.
you know?
People always say like, oh, you're so nice, and you think that's a good thing, but when you're a teacher, you have to learn to discipline, and you can't always be super nice. You have to like lay down the law and let them know who's boss, which might be kind of hard for me.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Do you have a preference as far as age group?
Like the younger, like middle, elementary, so like first,
True
second,
early
third.
childhood.
First
Yep.
and second would be your favorite.
Yeah.
And did you have other employees, did you have a teaching job in the past, or you're coming right out of college?
I'm coming right out of college. I
Okay.
student taught and substitute taught
Where'd you do that
at the U of M and SDSU.
at? Okay, when you student taught, which town did you student teach in?
In St. Paul.
St. Paul?
Yep.
Okay, now the big deal is Twitter and Facebook and Skype and all kinds of stuff. Social media, if we check that, would we have any concerns about who you are?
No, I had a previous job when I was in high school at DCI, the Division of Criminal
Oh.
Investigation, and they had to run a background check on me, and I gave them all my passwords and everything, and I came
Wow.
out clean, so
Wow,
I'm not
good.
too concerned.
Wow,
Okay.
that's interesting.
What would your friends and colleagues say was your greatest?
Again, with the whole being nice thing, I would say I'm really empathetic and nice. I'm always on time and trustworthy too.
Okay. Let's see. While we're thinking here, do you have any questions for us while we're?
I do have a few. One of them would be like, what are the biggest like qualities that other teachers have that have made them successful?
I think our teachers, the biggest quality is that they care for their students. And, you know, that gives you the patience to tolerate those little brats at 3:30 or 3 o'clock and they're all wild and
Yeah.
just that you gotta love, you know, like we were told when we were coming through the system, you know, if you don't love kids, you're in the wrong
Yep.
profession.
And that's a definite
Yeah.
philosophy within your school district.
Okay.
You have to love kids.
If you don't love kids, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And so I think many of the qualities that you're mentioning here would be a good fit. And so,
Yeah. Yeah, with the caring and the working well with others, that's a lot of the questions that we had were, how do you work well, and how do you work with other teachers and stuff, and you know, we already answered all of those, so.
Alright.
Any additional questions?
Just what's the next step in the whole process of getting the job?
We'll be finishing our interviews and then we meet with the committee.
Okay.
And we'll be kind of going back through. Sometimes we call for second interviews, so
Okay.
we'll be in touch in regard to that
You'll probably hear from us for the next week.
within the next week.
Yeah.
Alright.
We should conclude those.
So, yeah, we should be done interviewing and on my end of it, it looks good, so.
Okay.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay, Cartney. Cheers. Sure.
Cartney is applying for an elementary teacher position with the Pierre Public School System. She came in, first impression was very good,
Wow,
you're
yeah,
on time.
Very, very nice dress,
Yes.
excellent dress.
You presented yourself well and very confidently. Very good at role playing. We could
Yeah,
tell that you
yeah.
thought things through and potential questions that we might have for you.
I actually felt sorry that I wasn't hiring you, so.
Yeah, yeah. Handling a weakness question, I think you handled that very well. Sometimes that's a difficult question for people, and you responded that sometimes you can be a little too nice, and I think many teachers will find that to be a difficult thing for them, especially if they
Yeah.
care for kids. And so it was a very appropriate response, and one that I think most interviewers would relate to if they're
Yeah.
in education.
Yes, you are.
Um,
And as you get stronger in your teaching skills, you find out ways to handle students where you don't have to be their enemy and they don't get mad. I mean, they don't not like you. You could be tough on them and they still like and respect you, and you just learn those things as you become, the more years you accumulate. Because when you first start teaching, it's hard. You want to be friends with everybody, and that's not bad either, but you learn ways to still be their friend, and they know that they gotta do what you tell them to do, so.
yeah, there is a line they can cross.
Yeah.
As far as questions for us, I thought you came up with a wonderful question that
That was
would
good.
indicate to us that you
Yeah.
would want to be a fit,
Right.
and a good fit for the school system, and work well with the current people that are here,
Yep.
as well as finding out a way to just kind of figure out their philosophy on education and where you might fit in all of that. So I felt you did a wonderful
Yeah,
job.
you nailed it, yep. I would hire you in a second, so.
Yeah, so good job.
Nice job.